The spaceport on Nexus 7 was always alive, noisy, overcrowded, humming with the chaos of 1,000 species colliding under one artificial sky. Neon signs pulsed in 100 dialects. Vendors called out their wares, promising cuisine or tech or miracles. Cargo drones buzzed overhead like mechanical insects, while the low thrum of engines rose and fell as shuttles docked and departed in a continuous, mechanical ballet. Through all this cacophony moved a figure who, despite her towering height, always walked alone. Aurelia Solaris cut through the crowd like a blade through silk. 7 feet of genetically perfected bone and sinew, her form was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Her skin shimmered with gold beneath its smooth violet hue, molten light coursing in visible threads along her arms, shoulders, and collarbones. She wore a black sleeveless compression suit designed to absorb and distribute gravitational energy, its edges gleaming faintly in the ambient light. Her long silver hair trailed behind her like a comet tail, braided tightly, ceremonial, and efficient. The crowd parted before her without a word. They always did. She ignored the stares, the flinches, the hushed comments she could hear even through the buzz of the spaceport's chaos. Look at that freak ... She'll burn you if you touch her ... Why would they keep one of those around? Salarians were never meant to look like her. Her species, normally slender, green-skinned, small-eyed, had evolved for efficiency, not intimidation. Yet here she was, their biological outlier, forged in a secret lab as part of the Gravity Guild's experimental program. Most had not survived the modifications. Aurelia had. But survival came at a cost. Too big. Too hot. Too wrong. She'd long since stopped reacting. The words didn't hurt like they used to. Not exactly. Now they hung in the background like the hum of the ventilation systems, always there, unavoidable, but just noise. She had her duties: maintain the gravity core, monitor fluctuations, and ensure Nexus 7 didn't collapse into a singularity. She kept the station alive, even if the station barely tolerated her presence. As she moved past a food stall that smelled vaguely of grilled protein and ozone, she felt it, a gaze, not a flinch, not a quick glance followed by revulsion. This gaze lingered. Aurelia turned. He stood casually by the support beam, one arm resting against it like he had all the time in the galaxy. Human. Of course he was. Tousled hair the color of dusted bronze. Olive green shirt stretched comfortably across a chest built more for utility than aesthetics. A tactical vest hung open over his shoulders. But it wasn't his posture or clothes that struck her. It was his eyes, warm, brown, curious, and they didn't dart away when she met them. They crinkled slightly at the corners. He smiled. It wasn't mocking. It wasn't forced. It was simple, open, and inexplicably genuine. Aurelia felt something strange flicker deep in her chest: surprise, uncertainty, maybe even hope. No one ever smiled at her. Not like that. She blinked, breaking the moment. Was this a mistake? A trick? Her heart, trained to be steel, trembled for the first time in years. And when she looked back again, the human was still there. Still smiling, still not afraid. ChatGPT said, the next morning came with a synthetic dawn. Nexus 7 had no sun of its own, but the environmental regulators gradually shifted the station's lighting cycle from midnight blue to soft amber, simulating morning for its diverse population. Aurelia stood alone on a high platform overlooking the central atrium, her golden veins pulsing gently in rhythm with her breath. She hadn't slept. Not really. Her mind replayed that smile over and over. It haunted her, not in a painful way, but like an echo she didn't understand. She had been stared at 1,000,000 times, watched like a threat, whispered about like a myth. But this human had looked at her like she was simply their real, whole, worthy, and that was far more dangerous. The system chimed. Gravity core diagnostics were complete. She pulled on her gloves, the golden glow dimming as the synthetic fabric dampened the radiating energy. As chief gravitational engineer, her next routine check was level 9, the station's heart. She descended into the depths of the station. With practiced efficiency, each footstep a heavy reminder of her strength and solitude. But as the doors to the maintenance sector opened, her world tilted. Standing in the access corridor, scanning a wall console with a handheld device, was the human, the same one. Marcus Clark. Aurelia stopped in her tracks, her pulse quickening despite herself. "You again," she said, her voice cautious. He looked up, flashing that same disarming grin. "You're hard to miss. Thought I'd run into you eventually. This area is restricted." He held up a small black badge with an official. "Seal Earth Defense Liaison, temporary clearance." Something about cross-department tech integration. You know, diplomatic blah blah. She walked past him, brushing only inches from his shoulder. He didn't recoil. Instead, he followed. "You didn't tell me your name yesterday." "I didn't think it mattered." "It does," he said easily. "I've thought about you since then," she stiffened. "Why?" "Because," he said, falling into step beside her, "you looked like you carried the weight of a collapsed star on your back and didn't expect anyone to notice." Aurelia turned sharply, her towering frame blocking his path. "You think charming words will win favor with me? I'm not some alien novelty for you to flirt with, human." He didn't flinch. "I don't flirt with things I don't respect." Their standoff was broken by a shrill alarm. Lights along the corridor began to strobe crimson. Gravity core flux detected. Diagnostic override required. Aurelia's instincts kicked in. She moved swiftly toward the control hub, hands flying over the panel. Marcus followed close behind, suddenly serious. "What's happening?" he asked. She didn't answer at first. The readouts were bizarre. A spike in the gravitational field. Oscillation beyond tolerances, but no visible breach. It was like the core was being pulled? Sabotage? She opened a second channel, running deeper scans. Behind her, Marcus stepped quietly closer. "You've got something someone wants. What do you know?" He hesitated. "Nothing yet, but I'm starting to connect the dots." Aurelia looked back at him, her eyes narrowing. "You're more than a diplomatic liaison, aren't you?" He didn't deny it. "We can trade truths, later." She hated how easily he said that. Like they were allies already. Before she could respond, the panel blinked and rerouted her diagnostic authority. The command input was overridden. Someone was hacking the core systems in real time. "Impossible," she muttered. "No one can access this level without engineering clearance." And then, in the reflection of the panel, she saw movement. A shadow no, 3 at the far end of the corridor. Slender bodies, angular heads, armor that shimmered in fractured light. Varian, a race known for their technological supremacy and cold opportunism. But what were they doing here? Marcus drew closer. "Do you trust me?" "No." "Good. That means you're still smart. But you're going to have to come with me right now." Another warning erupted this time from the secondary reactor. Someone was trying to destabilize the auxiliary field emitters. A double-pronged attack. Aurelia's fists clenched. She wanted to tear something apart. She wanted to unleash the energy inside her without fear. But that would make her exactly what they feared. She was a living weapon. Marcus grabbed her arm. "We need to move." She didn't shake him off. As they slipped into a maintenance shaft, alarms blaring behind them, Aurelia whispered, more to herself than him, "I've kept this station alive for 5 years, and now they want to tear it apart just to break me." Marcus turned back. eyes unreadable. Maybe, or maybe it's not about breaking you. Maybe they're trying to control you. That stopped her. What do you mean? I mean, he said quietly, someone's just activated a gravity signature that matches yours. There's only one other source on this station that glows like you do. Aurelia's breath caught. That couldn't be. But deep inside her, bones, the golden energy stirred angry, alert, responding to something else. Something like her. Something calling to her. The walls of the maintenance shaft were narrow, coated with heat-resistant alloys designed to withstand plasma leaks. The air was tight and humid, filled with the smell of ionized metal and recycled oxygen. Aurelia crouched beside Marcus as emergency. Sirens echoed through the narrow passageways. Her golden veins pulsed faintly under her gloves, flickering faster with every second. She didn't speak. She couldn't. Her mind was reeling. A second gravitational signature. Like hers, it shouldn't be possible. She was the only one who'd survived the modifications. The Salarian Gravity Guild had ensured that. There were no others there couldn't be. Yet the energy within her didn't lie. It was reacting, resonating. Somewhere on this station, something or someone shared her frequency. They emerged into a side corridor, leading toward the core's secondary stabilizer units. The emergency bulkheads had sealed automatically, red warning lights flashing along the walls. Marcus moved with silent efficiency, bypassing the locks with codes too advanced for a simple liaison. He wasn't hiding it anymore. He didn't have to. You knew this was coming, she finally said, voice low. I knew something was coming, he admitted. I didn't know it would involve you. They pushed through the final bulkhead. On the other side was carnage. The auxiliary stabilizer room had been torn apart. Panels blown out. Wiring dangled from the ceiling like mechanical entrails. A faint shimmer hung in the air, the residual effect of gravitational distortion. Aurelia stepped inside first, scanning the room, her body already reacting to the fluctuations in space-time. In the center, the floor had caved in-warp downward, as if a massive invisible force had crushed the room from within. Aurelia knelt beside the collapse, placing her gloved hand on the twisted plating. Her energy responded immediately, angry tendrils of gold dancing across the metal. Someone used a gravitational pulse here, she said, voice cold. A powerful one. Marcus crouched beside her. Could you have done this? She looked at him, her eyes glowing faintly. Not without killing myself. His lips pressed into a grim line. Then whoever did this isn't just like you. They're stronger. The room trembled faintly just for a moment. Aurelia stood up sharply. She didn't need a sensor to tell her. She felt it. Another pulse. Deeper. Below them, Marcus tapped a panel on the wall. A hidden schematic lit up unauthorized access. Logs flickered in red. They're moving through the unregistered levels. Deck 13 and below. Level 13 is sealed, Aurelia said. It was abandoned after the last reactor meltdown. He gave her a sharp look, and yet someone opened it an hour ago. Before they could move, a faint hiss echoed behind them. Aurelia turned. 3 Varian agents had entered the room silently, their armor glinting like wet obsidian. No insignias. No spoken words. Just weapons drawn and aimed. Aurelia stepped forward instinctively, shielding Marcus with her body. Don't, she warned, her voice a growl. You don't want to see. What happens when I stop holding back? The center Varian tilted his head, then spoke in perfect Salarian. We don't want you destroyed, Aurelia Solaris. We want you returned. You're not the only success. The others await you. Her blood ran cold. Others? Yes, the Varian said. You were never meant to be alone. He raised a small, spherical device from his belt and activated it. Instantly, the gravity field around them shifted warped. The air seemed to bend. Marcus stumbled, caught off guard, but Aurelia reacted faster. Her gloves burned away as she ripped them off, unleashing her energy in a blinding cascade of gold. The gravitational wave struck the Varians like a hammer. The room groaned as pressure bent walls inward. 2 of them were flung backward into the collapsed floor. The third barely held his footing before Aurelia seized him with an invisible force, lifting him off the ground with nothing but sheer gravitational focus. "Where are they?" she snarled. He struggled in her grip, choking as the air around him thinned. "Aurelia!" Marcus called sharply. "You're killing him." She hesitated. Just long enough. The Varian activated a failsafe. His body convulsed and a small internal device detonated non-lethal, but powerful enough to release an electromagnetic pulse. The blast knocked out the lights and sensors in the room. The Varian dropped to the ground in a smoking heap, unconscious or. Worse. Marcus pulled himself up, eyes adjusting to the flickering emergency light. "Are you okay?" Aurelia nodded slowly, still staring at the unmoving agent. Her voice trembled. "They weren't lying." "There are more like you," Marcus said, "and someone has brought them here." She looked at him. "Then I have to find them. Before the Varians do." He reached for her hand without hesitation, fingers brushing her bare skin. The golden energy leapt to his touch, brighter than before. "I'm with you," he said. "Whatever this is, whatever it becomes, we face it together." Another tremor shook the deck beneath them. From somewhere below, Aurelia felt it. A pulse, not hers, not random, a signature. Calling out to her, not hostile, not afraid. It was waiting for her. ChatGPT said. The tremor subsided, but the echo of it lingered in Aurelia's bones like a phantom heartbeat. They moved quickly, descending into Nexus 7's forgotten depths. Lower decks long since sealed off after the last gravitational surge rendered them too unstable for habitation. Deck 13 was legend among the station's engineers. Condemned, unstable, cursed, but now it was more than myth. Now it was a waypoint. The maintenance shaft groaned under their combined weight. Lights flickered above them like nervous eyes. Marcus moved with quiet focus behind her, watching her back, his footsteps sure despite the darkness. In the moments between motion and silence, Aurelia could feel the other signature again, vague, like a memory wrapped in static. But there was no denying it now. She wasn't the only one. And that truth terrified her more than isolation ever had. At last, they reached a corroded access hatch. A fusion weld sealed it shut, makeshift, not standard protocol. Someone had sealed this from the inside. Aurelia touched her palm to the door. Golden energy radiated from her skin, seeking weaknesses, probing edges. She felt the gravitational distortion woven into the metal. It hadn't just been welded, it had been sealed with gravity manipulation. Crude, unrefined, but unmistakably familiar. Marcus noticed too. That wasn't done by a machine. "No," she said softly. "It was someone like me." She pushed harder, channeling her energy, overriding the opposing force. The metal groaned and screamed before finally splitting apart with a violent snap. The hatch dropped inward. Cold air spilled out, stale, ancient, heavy. They stepped inside. The chamber beyond was massive, circular, lined with rusting columns that had once powered the station's early gravitational relays, long since obsolete. In the center stood a containment pod half submerged in an energy cradle that flickered weakly. It pulsed with golden light, faint but steady, like a sleeping heart. Aurelia froze. The energy signature was coming from within. Marcus moved beside her, scanning with a handheld device. Life signs faint, still active. Bioenergy matches yours. "Impossible," Aurelia whispered. They approached slowly. Inside the pod lay another Salarian female taller than standard, though not quite Aurelia's size. Her skin was marbled with faint blue-gold bioluminescence, her limbs lean but muscular, her face delicate and unreadable beneath a breathing mask. Her eyes were closed. Her chest rose and fell slowly like a being locked in permanent stasis. Aurelia stared in disbelief. "She's like me." "She is you," Marcus murmured. "Same genetic markers, same modifications. She's from the same project. Why wasn't she registered? Why didn't the guild tell me?" Marcus pointed to the edge of the pod. Burned into the metal was a Salarian serial code followed by a human stamp. This wasn't just a Salarian experiment. Earth had a hand in this too. Aurelia stepped back, her mind spinning. Was that the secret? Was her entire life not just a mistake but a lie? Before either could react, the power in the chamber surged. The pod flickered, alarms blared, and the stasis field collapsed. The female inside convulsed, her eyes snapping open, glowing white-hot with gravitational energy. She sat up with inhuman grace, breathing heavily. Her eyes locked onto Aurelia, and she smiled. "Finally," the stranger rasped. "You came." Aurelia stepped forward slowly. "Who are you?" The woman rose, towering but still slightly shorter. Her voice was deeper now, steadier. "Designation Epsilon 3. I was the prototype before you." Marcus raised his weapon slowly. "She's one of the variant's creations?" The woman scoffed. "No, the variants freed me. The guild buried me." Aurelia's pulse spiked. "Why?" "Because I survived too well, like you." Epsilon 3's eyes narrowed. "But unlike you, I understood what I am. What we are." She raised her hand, and the entire room vibrated. The ground flexed. Columns groaned under pressure. Marcus steadied himself, struggling to stay upright. Aurelia matched her. Her glow intensified, and the pressure relented slightly. "Stop." "This," she warned. "Why?" Epsilon 3 asked. "You feel it. The connection. The strength. You and I are gods among vermin. They built us to control gravity, and now they fear we'll use it. We could tear this station apart. Why would I want that? Because they caged us, modified us, called us errors. Even your own kind spit when you pass. But they'll kneel when the gravity obeys only us." Marcus stepped forward. "She's wrong, Aurelia. You don't need to become what they fear to prove you deserve to exist." Aurelia hesitated. Epsilon 3's eyes flicked to Marcus with amusement. "The human," she said. "He glows. You're transferring energy into him. That's new, dangerous, evolutionary." She stepped closer to Aurelia, voice low and intimate. "We're changing, sister. You and I, and they can't stop it." Then, without warning, she disappeared in a pulse of gravitational distortion, vanishing in a controlled fold of space-time that Aurelia hadn't even realized she'd mastered. Marcus swore under his breath. "She's too advanced," he said. "Too fast, too strong." "She's not stronger than us," Aurelia said, her fists clenched, golden energy arcing from her fingertips. "She's just alone." Marcus looked at her, studying the fire behind her eyes. "What are you thinking?" Aurelia turned to him, her voice steady now. "I'm thinking it's time we stop surviving and start fighting." ChatGPT said. Epsilon 3 was gone, vanished like a ripple swallowed by deep space. But her words lingered like radiation, unseen, unrelenting, and poisonous. The walls of the old containment chamber were still vibrating faintly, resonating from the gravity fold she'd used to escape. Aurelia stared into the emptiness where her sister had stood moments ago, every cell in her body humming with unease. Not just fear recognition, she had felt it, the symmetry, the matching frequency. It was as if the universe had hummed a perfect note in her bones when they stood near each other. They were two pieces of the same forbidden puzzle, but Epsilon 3 had gone dark, twisted, believing destruction was the only path to power. "I won't let her become the future," Aurelia said aloud. Marcus checked his communicator, scanning local anomalies. "She could be anywhere on the station. That kind of fold tech, if she's mastered it, makes her a ghost." "She won't hide," Aurelia said grimly. "She doesn't want to. She wants an audience." Then the lights died. The silence was instant, oppressive, complete. For a second, even the hum of the station's life support system ceased. Then the emergency lighting stuttered on dim red strips pulsing along the floor like a heartbeat. A mechanical voice echoed through the station's comm grid. "Level 3 lockdown engaged. Gravity core override detected. Security breach in central stabilization hub." Marcus's head snapped up. "That's the heart of the core." Aurelia didn't speak. She was already moving. They raced through the emergency lifts, descending through the trembling structure of Nexus 7. Every hallway they passed showed signs of distortion. Floors buckled, ceilings rippled like water. Some doors hung twisted in impossible angles, metal, warped as if melted and reformed by invisible pressure. She could feel it in the air. Epsilon 3 was channeling raw gravitational energy directly into the station's infrastructure, and worse, she was controlling it. That should have been impossible. Even Aurelia, with her genetic enhancements, could only manipulate gravity in bursts waves, holding a constant field that strong should tear a being apart. Unless Epsilon 3 had gone beyond her limits, or worse, found a way to remove them. The elevator opened to a scene of panic. Central stabilization was in chaos. Engineers shouted into dead consoles. Gravity anomalies flared across the control panels. Objects hovered mid-air, rotating slowly. Before crashing to the floor, a medical drone had crumpled against the ceiling like paper. A Salarian supervisor floated near the mainframe, limbs flailing uselessly in zero-gravity panic. Aurelia strode through it all, her sheer presence stabilizing the atmosphere around her. Her golden light expanded in a radius, suppressing the worst of the fluctuations. Marcus trailed behind her, barking commands. "Evacuate the hub. Everyone out, now." One of the engineers pointed toward the main field generator. "She's inside. The gravitational signature, it matches yours. But it's more intense." Aurelia didn't hesitate. She ripped open the emergency override hatch and stepped into the core chamber. Epsilon 3 stood at the center, arms raised like a conductor orchestrating a symphony of destruction. Tendrils of gravity energy curled around her like serpents lifting heavy machinery, warping metal struts, bending light itself. Her skin pulsed with silver-gold veins, brighter and more volatile than Aurelia's own. When she saw Aurelia, her smile widened. "I was beginning to think you wouldn't come." "What are you doing?" Aurelia demanded, shouting over the howling distortion. "Becoming," Epsilon 3 answered simply. "They buried me for being too strong, too real. But now? Now I will show them what we were meant to be." Aurelia moved closer, her own energy igniting in response. "You'll tear the station apart." "Only if it resists," Epsilon whispered. "But if it bows." She raised both hands and the entire room dropped. Marcus, watching from behind the blast shield, felt the gravity spike. He slammed into the floor with bone-cracking force. The emergency plating groaned, threatening to fail. Aurelia braced herself. Her energy surged outward like a counterwave, clashing with Epsilon's field. The two fields collided mid-air, golden and silver light erupting like solar flares. The station trembled under their battle, not with brute strength, but with the laws of physics themselves unraveling at the seams. They stood at the eye of a gravitational storm, locked in a war not of fists, but will. You can't control it forever, Aurelia shouted, muscles straining, veins glowing like fire beneath her skin. I don't have to control it. Epsilon cried. I am it. Their energies collided again, this time violently. The blast blew both women backward. Aurelia crashed into a column, metal snapping around her. Epsilon landed in a crouch, unfazed, her eyes burning like twin stars. Marcus activated his communicator. Clark to Intrepid. Emergency teleport marker lock onto central core chamber. Authorization Earthrise Alpha 1. I need backup now. But the reply came with static. Negative. Field interference too strong. We can't get a lock. He looked up and saw Aurelia rise, golden tendrils flaring again. But then something new happened. A line of light, a thin golden thread, extended from Aurelia's arm and snapped into Marcus's chest. He gasped as his body lit up. Her energy was bonding to him again, but stronger. Not just a transfer, a merge. Aurelia felt it too. Her mind reeled. The energy inside her was no longer hers alone. It was synchronizing with his, the same phenomena from before, but now it was happening by instinct, raw survival. She reached out and Marcus took her hand without hesitation. Golden light erupted around them, encasing them both in a gravitational field of impossible stability. The chamber stilled. Even Epsilon faltered, her expression finally changing. What is that? She whispered. Aurelia stepped forward, Marcus beside her, both of them burning with light. It's what they never expected, Aurelia said. A union. Epsilon's expression twisted into something unreadable: anger, envy, desperation. She raised her hand to strike again, but Aurelia was faster. She flared her energy outward in a controlled wave, not to destroy, but to isolate. She wrapped her gravitational field around Epsilon like a cage, immobilizing her without crushing her. The chamber shook violently, warning lights flaring. Marcus turned to her. The core is destabilizing. You can't hold both. I don't have to, Aurelia said. Together they focused. Their combined energy surged through the core systems, repairing the damage Epsilon had caused, restabilizing the failing fields. Around them, the station returned to equilibrium. Epsilon collapsed inside the containment field, unconscious. Aurelia slumped against the control console, breathing hard, Marcus catching her as her knees buckled. The golden light dimmed but didn't fade. You saved her, he said softly. I saved us, she whispered, but this is far from over. The intercom flared to life again. Unknown fleet detected exiting hyperspace near Nexus 7. Warships, no transponders. Marcus looked at Aurelia grimly. We've made too much noise. Now they're coming. She rose slowly, her voice steady. Let them. The warships exited hyperspace like knives parting the black fabric of space. No warning, no broadcasts, no markings. Just dozens of silent angular vessels arranged in a strategic crescent formation, their hulls matte black, built for stealth, not diplomacy. From the command deck of Nexus 7, red lights exploded into a rolling alert as the AI struggled to identify the incoming fleet. Unknown vessels approaching.
Weapon systems primed. Shield integrity at 74%.
Estimated time to contact 6 minutes. In the dim, flickering light of the core chamber, Aurelia and Marcus stood shoulder to shoulder, golden energy still faintly pulsing across their intertwined hands. Behind them, Epsilon 3 lay unconscious inside a containment field, her breathing shallow but steady. They're here for her, Marcus said, watching the orbital scans update with growing urgency. They never expected her to fail. They're here to finish the job. Or retrieve their asset. Or both, Aurelia murmured. Golden light flickering along her skin again. Terran's voice cut through the chamber's intercom, tense and shaken. Aurelia, if you can hear me, get to the command center. We're outmatched. We need options. And I think you're the only one who can give us one. Marcus helped her to her feet, but Aurelia didn't move right away. Her eyes remained fixed on Epsilon 3, the other Salarian, so much like her, same enhancements, same power but twisted by abandonment, by betrayal. She should have been a sister, an ally. Instead, she'd nearly torn the station in half. I won't let them take her, Aurelia said, voice low, fierce. They built her to be a weapon. They'll never stop until they reclaim what they made. Or destroy it. They'll do the same to you, Marcus said gently. She looked up at him, her gaze bright with resolve. Then let them try. They reached the command center just as the first warning tremors hit the station shields. Impact bursts rippled across the outer shell, non-lethal strikes meant to test defenses. Probes followed, darting forward. Like mechanical vultures, mapping energy signatures and looking for vulnerabilities. Taran turned from the central console. His usual smugness had been burned away, replaced by the grim face of someone who had seen too much in too little time. There. Not broadcasting anything, he said. Not even a standard declaration. Whoever they are, they're confident. Marcus studied the enemy's formation. This isn't a siege. It's a precision extraction. They're here to get in and out fast, surgical, which means they already know what's here and where. Aurelia moved to the defense grid display. Then we can't let them control the battlefield. We push back hard. Commander Drell, patched in via holofeed from the orbital defense tower, interjected. With what? We don't have gravity cannons. We don't even have kinetic turrets left. They'll break through in minutes. I'm not talking about weapons. Aurelia said. She tapped into the core relay matrix and brought up a schematic of the station's gravitational field, generators, dozens of them buried deep within Nexus 7's spine. Most were inert, never used outside of emergencies. Until now, I can use the old generators, she said. Link them through the core. I can bend space around the station, manipulate gravity fields in ways no shielding can stop. Marcus stepped in beside her. With the connection between us, we can extend the field outward, create a barrier. Taran raised a brow. You're proposing to weaponize yourselves? No, Aurelia replied. We're proposing to defend every life on this station, with the only thing we have left us. Commander Drell paused for a long second, then nodded once. Do it. As the outermost layer of shields buckled under a direct hit, Aurelia and Marcus returned to the core, where Epsilon 3 remained sedated. The gravitational chamber pulsed with anticipation, lights throbbing with energy. As if the station itself were waiting for their answer, Marcus removed his jacket, revealing the faint golden lines still pulsing across his skin. Aurelia looked at them in awe. It's permanent now, she said. You're bonded to the energy matrix. He took her hand. Then let's use it. She positioned them in the center of the chamber again, arms wrapped around each other, not out of affection this time, but alignment. Their hearts beat in unison. Their breath sensed. Aurelia raised her hands and Marcus matched her, palms pressed. Together. The energy between them ignited instantly, a spiral of golden blue light erupting around them. Across the station, dormant gravity relays sparked to life, awakening after years of silence. Energy surged through old channels, guided by Aurelia's will, amplified by her bond with Marcus. The orbital enemy fleet began to react. Their lead ships fired volleys of focused plasma toward the station's core, but the plasma never reached its target. Instead, the energy bent, twisted, curved away in perfect arcs and spiraled out into space like shooting stars. The attacking ships began to falter. Marcus focused, breathing hard. They can't calibrate their weapons. The field is warping every trajectory. Aurelia's voice was distant, trance-like. We're not just shielding the station. We're reshaping the very laws of approach. Inside the fleet, chaos erupted. Targeting systems failed. Docking claws disengaged mid-breach. Hulls bent under their own weight as gravitational pressure doubled and reversed. Erratically, then the unexpected happened. A new ship exited hyperspace sleek, silver, and massive. Unlike the others, it didn't fire. Instead, it transmitted a single message directly to the command center of Nexus 7. Marcus read it aloud. We request parley. We come for Aurelia Solaris not to capture, but to propose alliance. She is the beginning. Silence fell. Terran frowned. That's not a threat. Commander Drell's voice returned. It's worse. It's a pivot. They see her as a leader. Aurelia looked up from the energy spiral still flowing between her and Marcus. Her eyes burned with golden light, but behind them was a deeper storm. They don't want war, she said softly. They want to recruit me. Marcus turned toward her. What are you going to tell them? She looked through the core chambers. Viewport, past the golden field they'd created, to the distant stars. I'm going to tell them the truth, she said. I don't serve empires. I don't answer to fear. I'm not a weapon or a mistake or a bargaining chip. Her glow intensified, casting shadows across the entire chamber. I'm Aurelia Solaris. I built this station with my hands. I kept it alive while they whispered about my failures. And now that they finally see me, they think they can own me. She turned to Marcus. They're about to learn what happens when gravity answers to me. ChatGPT said, the golden barrier encasing Nexus 7 pulsed like a living organism alive, aware, and shifting in tandem with Aurelia's heartbeat. The unknown fleet drifted at the edge of this artificial gravity well, trapped between curiosity and fear. Their newest ship, the silver dreadnought that had sent the cryptic parley, hovered just outside the radius of Aurelia's reach, silent, watching, waiting. In the command center, screens flickered with live telemetry. The crew watched in awestruck silence as Aurelia Solaris, once ridiculed as a freak, now revered as a force, stood at the heart of the gravity field, bathed in radiant gold, Marcus Clark at her side. Both of them were glowing now, connected by a bond that had transcended science and evolved into something mythic. Commander Drell's voice came through the comms again, firm but cautious. The dreadnought has sent a second message. They've requested to send a single emissary aboard, unarmed. Their exact words, to speak with the Alpha Construct. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Alpha Construct? Aurelia's voice was calm, deadly calm. They think I'm a prototype, a first generation. They're wrong. Terran leaned forward. At the command desk. You're not the beginning? She turned her eyes toward the stars. No, I'm the culmination. With a subtle nod, she authorized docking. A shuttle detached from the dreadnought and glided smoothly through the gravitational field shielded, somehow, by a narrow corridor of neutral space Aurelia allowed to exist. The ship landed in the hangar bay, and Aurelia and Marcus were waiting. The emissary emerged slowly, tall, non-humanoid, draped in flowing dark blue robes that shimmered like oil, its limbs elongated and digitigrade, its face hidden behind a featureless obsidian mask. When it finally spoke, the voice was not vocal, but resonant, vibrating directly in their minds. We are the Curatrix Accord. Aurelia narrowed her eyes. That's not a government. No, the voice agreed. We are a convergence of minds, scientists, survivors, the architects of gravitational manipulation. You are one of us, whether you know it or not. Marcus moved slightly in front of Aurelia, protective by reflex. She belongs to herself. Indeed, the voice replied. Which is why we wish to offer her a choice. Aurelia's voice was like iron. You sent warships. The curatrix tilted its head. We sent silence. Others sent fire, but now they have gone quiet. And you have awakened. You did not just resist. You adapted. You combined. Golden energy flared faintly along Aurelia's arms. Speak plainly, the curatrix obliged. We wish to understand your bond, you and the human. It is unprecedented. Your energy field is synchronized, your neural signatures co-amplified. Together, you are more than we imagined possible. We want to study you, collaborate, co-create. Study? Marcus said sharply. You mean contain? No, said the curatrix. We've moved beyond containment. We offer you the stars. Entire systems built around gravitational symbiosis. Let us help you become what you were always meant to be. Not soldiers. Not outcasts, but architects of a new reality. Aurelia studied the emissary for a long, quiet moment. Then she turned to Marcus. They're not lying, she said. I can feel it. They really want to build something. Then why did they lock you away? Why sabotage the station? Because they feared what I'd become without their chains. She stepped forward. Her energy pulsed brighter than ever before, and the emissary staggered back instinctively. I don't need your designs. I've already become something. New, not because of your code or your labs, but because of choice. She looked to Marcus. Because of him. He smiled at her. And because of you, I stopped following orders and started following truth. The emissary tilted its head. Again. You reject the accord? Aurelia shook her head. No, I rewrite it. With a single pulse of energy, she transmitted a data burst through the station's core uplink, a living schematic of the bond between her and Marcus. Their energy merged and mapped out like fractals in motion. It wasn't just a power signature. It was a language, a gravitational dialect of union, balance, and free will. The accord didn't respond immediately. Then, accepted. Just like that, the dreadnoughts disengaged their weapons. One by one, ships peeled away, entering jump. Vectors. Within minutes, they vanished into the void. The emissary simply nodded once more and stepped back into its shuttle, offering no farewell. None was needed. The message was delivered. The answer understood. Aurelia and Marcus stood alone again. Only this time, the station wasn't whispering. Behind her back. As they returned to the central promenade, hundreds of beings stood in silent awe. Salarians, humans, Ventaxians, Terrans, Proximans. Some had mocked her. Others had feared her. But now, they saw her. The golden energy. Beneath her skin shimmered with steady pride. Commander Drell appeared on the upper deck, voice booming through the speakers. This station was nearly lost tonight. Not to a weapon, not to a fleet, but to fear of the unknown. Fear of what we do not understand. But in that fear, one engineer, one woman stood her ground. And she rewrote the rules of our reality. Aurelia turned to Marcus, who now had golden threads permanently visible along his forearms, forever marked by their union. What now? He asked her quietly. She smiled. Now, we show them what it means to rise. 3 weeks later, Nexus 7 became the epicenter of a historic alliance. The Salarian Guild and the Earth Defense Force, once cautious partners, announced a joint initiative, Project Gravemath, a program dedicated to unlocking gravitational resonance and biosymbiotic field control. Aurelia and Marcus were appointed as its co-directors. Scientists came. Observers arrived. Pilgrims, too. No longer a freak. No longer alone. Aurelia Solaris had become something else, a beacon. She stood with Marcus on the observation deck, watching the stars shift beyond the station's dome. He Wrapped an arm around her waist, she leaned into him. The energy between them pulsed once golden, warm, steady. And across the galaxy, sensors and distant observatories registered a new phenomenon, a soft pulse, a rhythmic gravitational echo, repeating at regular intervals, as if the universe itself had learned how to feel.